Syria was an entirely different hell. When the world is still dust and blood and fear, Sergeant Noah Carter starts out his day. Sullenly, the sun blazed down on all growing or living things, and the relaxation of darkness was no relaxation at all, only accentuation of cold and of blackness, and of the sounds, the deep-sounding, distant sounds that told of fits fought far away. He had come to walk and wade amid anarchy, to walk with and discipline carved in each step. But in the stillness of the darkest hours after the bullets fell silent and everything was silent again, there was one place his thoughts invariably went. Home in Madison. She was his heat, his single thread of connection. Her letters had been a lifeline once upon a time. Not having heard such a song treaty ground to dust in the twilight of their forefathers, one missed her voice, the peace amid the storm. And each time he remembered her, he had another reason to live. But something was different more recently. Her emails had become sporadic, her words colder. The clipped tone was emotionless, but something about it felt really distancy, and Noah knew deep down that it had to be the distance. War changes people, even when you're not the one holding the gun. 2 weeks before he was to return home, Noah squatted behind a Humvee at dusk, a blood-orange sun casting a shadow on his weathered face. That he might be hearing something comforting, the desperation. "Hey, Noah," her voice played, calm, detached. "I think we need to get real. You've changed. I've changed. I want someone who has a future, someone I can really be with. Don't come looking for me. I've already filed." He didn't move. It sprayed up around him and settled on his boots. The tremors in his hands didn't belong to an enemy, however. They belonged to the bite of a lashing treachery that had only a moment ago closed around a last piece of comfort. She'd dumped him in a voicemail. No warning, no conversation, just finality. Noah arrived, yet not the remotest token of welcome, of offer of embrace did I behold. The apartment was emptier. Her belongings were gone, as if she'd never been there. All he left on the kitchen counter was a stack of papers, paperwork for a divorce that he had signed and filed. He made his way through the void, with a duffel bag on his shoulder and a uniform wet with reminiscence. The room felt like an entirely different country, a foreign place. He was a ghost of himself. Noah didn't cry. He didn't rage. He just kind of sat on the ground and melted into the vacuum, the bulk of his silence heavier by far than the total of any firefight he had ever bumbled through. The next several months almost destroyed him. He drifted through odd jobs, therapy, and countless sleepless nights. Her memory seemed to ooze from every street in the city. She was gone when he had been dodging bullets and burying brothers in arms. Not waited for him to come back a bit at all. She had already moved on. But as anyone who's entered, battered, into a kind of new skin knows, even if it's still slick with blood and twitchy and raw, there's something about pain that lights the soul on fire, makes it capable of transformation. The Noahs found a night shift security guard job for Noah. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a block of time to think, to rebuild. During intervals, he took courses on cybersecurity, earned certifications, saved money, slept little, worked like a man possessed. The pain had never left. It had driven him. Years passed. He founded a small security company out of his apartment. Just him and a laptop. He didn't stop. Word spread. Clients came. Contracts followed. Business grew, and so did he. 10-year-old Noah Carter was the proud owner, founder, and CEO of Titan Guard Solutions, a multi-million-dollar top security company that safeguarded government properties and business establishments throughout the United States. Troubled dude Madison had once blown off as a dead end was collecting six-figure speaking fees, dispensing advice to veterans, and signing seven-figure deals. There was no washing away the scars, no matter how much good she achieved in life. It just encased them in steel. He had never expected to be able to make it to the college reunion. A friend of his, someone he'd known back in the dorms, had been nagging him to come, for old times, to witness just how much they'd each evolved. Finally, he had said yes, not in a spirit of nostalgia, but to engage the past on his own terms. Find him in the event hall in a custom-tailored suit, and you would never know the soldier boy of years past. Even people who hadn't seen him for 10 years were amazed. But one reaction was notable. Madison. It was her, standing by the wine bar holding a glass. She froze in a smile as soon as she saw him. Her narrowed eyes opened wide and blinked, as though she questioned his reality. "Noah?" she whispered. He nodded calmly. "Madison." She ran her eyes over him slowly, her expression inscrutable. "You've changed." He offered a cool smile. "So have you." She laughed nervously. "You look amazing." His eyes didn't linger. "You too," he said falsely. There was silence, and the silence was thick with syntheology. "It's nice to see you," she attempted. "Is it?" It was unfamiliar and slight, and as it bowed and went on, she was left to her reflections. The same voice called again. A few hours later, he was standing at the bar, sipping silently. Noah Carter? Holy hell. He wheeled around to find Erica, Madison's former best friend. She stepped forward and hugged him, and it was a real hug. "You look amazing," she said. "Seriously, I heard about your company. Sure, I told you. You'd do something wonderful?" They laughed, and the laughter floated on air that had turned cold in January. And then, little by little, Erica began seeing things gradually shifted. "There is something I have been keeping in my back pocket for a couple of years now, and I feel like you have a right to know." Noah's expression grew still. "She didn't fall out of love. Madison cheated on you while you were deployed. He is married to a real estate agent, so that for months it inched toward her filing. I was going to tell you then, but she said she'd block me if I did." He shut his eyes. Her words fell like lead on some old wounds. He had suspected. He'd always known deep down. "I'm sorry," Erica whispered. "You deserved better." He nodded. "I know." A few days later, Madison called. First, a message, then a phone call. Then one day, she showed up unannounced at his job. "Noah, please," she said, her eyes welling up with tears. "I know I hurt you. I was scared. It brought me back to myself," she said of the experience of leaving the marriage and moving back to small-town USA. "I didn't know how to be alone." "You were not alone," he added placidly. "You wanted someone just to have a physical presence instead of calling." She stepped forward. "Can't we talk?" "We are. And that's enough." "I made a mistake." "No," he replied. "You made a choice. Don't call it a mistake." She tried to seize his hand. He stepped back. "I've moved on, Madison. Not because I hated you, but because you don't matter to the man I've become." She had shattered then. Bright bird admired by him as she walked on, tears that couldn't wipe so much as a smudge off of his soul. Week later, when cleaning out his own storage unit from his pre-army years, he found a dusty box marked deployment. They held old photos, his medals, and a flash drive. Who then, out of curiosity? He plugged it into his laptop, and there were pictures. Madison smiling with a man he did not recognize. Intimate, shameless. Log time stamped to the days he actually skewered around in the trenches. In one folder was a PDF file, the divorce papers she'd drafted. The two had been dating even before he went to Syria. His chest tightened. She had not only left him, she had planned it. He was there for hours, haunted by ghosts, regret, rage, and finally, resolve. He began therapy. Intense, no-nonsense, laser-focused workouts. He dumped it all out, his war trauma, his heartbreak, his guilt. A decade-old shame reluctantly sluiced off of him. He began mentoring other veterans, spoke at panels, the voice of those who are trying to find their way home, the lost souls, physically and spiritually. And in there somewhere, he also met Leah. She was kind, steady, a trauma nurse who is outwardly unflappable. She wasn't hoping he'd be anyone but himself. Their love wasn't a wildfire. The light was steady and warm and never flickering. He told her about Madison, about the war, on the voicemail that transformed his life, and she listened. She didn't grasp him by the hand as if to heal him, but to help him keep pace with her as they walked together through the tempest. Years passed. One day, he saw Madison in a grocery store. Her face paled. She forced a smile. "Noah." "Madison," he said, nodding. She eyed the wedding band on his finger. "You look happy," she said. "I am," he answered simply. There's no more to be said. And that silence was peace for the first time. Noah had sensed something profound that first night with Leah. He was no longer the man who had gone to war. He wasn't the broken man he once was. He was something new, stronger, wiser. His confidence became silent. But he had reinvented himself, screaming louder than ever, too. And theatrically, Madison's treachery wasn't the end of him. It was his beginning.